Congratulations! We are halfway through the course, and today we're going to be doing a brief recap of all of the methods that we've learned so far. So this recap is essential because it's going to reinforce what we've learned and contextualize those techniques in the process of making a song. So in this recap, I am going to stop saying the shortcuts that I'm using out loud, and that's going to be the case for the rest of this course. That's because we've already learned them, and if you haven't gotten them down yet, head on over to Lesson 6 where you can find our shortcut list. And then finally, just as a heads up, we're going to be using a synth in this tutorial, so if you have the most basic version of FL Studio, then you probably won't have access to Citrus, which is the synth we're using. If that's the case, substitute in FL keys and we'll still get all the same topics covered. So with that done, let's get into it. So before you start anything, we're going to want to save our project as Mirium mid-course. I do that now, but then you guys would see all the other stuff that I'm working on, and that's a surprise that we're all going to have to wait for. So, now that that's done, we're going to put Citrus into our channel rack. Here's Citrus. I'm going to drag it right on in. Now I'm going to close out of it for the moment, and I'm going to increase our pattern length to 64 so that we can record into it for a longer time. Then I'm going to come up here to our beat and bring that down to 124 beats per minute. Now we're going to head back over to the channel rack and select our instrument. And from presets, we're going to go under bass and head on down to digi. Now let's give this a listen. That sounds nice. I like that. So now that we've selected the instrument that we're going to be using, we can head on up to record and make sure that only notes are selected. We can press record and disregard that little pop-up window that asks us how we want to record because we just did that. And then when we're ready, we're going to hit the play button. So if you give me one sec, I'll get my fingers set on my keyboard and we'll get this show on the road. Now I'm really happy that I made a mistake there because I'm showing you that we can fix this in real time. So I'm back over to the channel rack, get rid of this mixer here, and we can see the mistake is right there. I accidentally hit the B note. So we can get rid of it, and now we can listen to it again on the piano roll. Let's disengage recording. We have no context, so we're going to need to turn on our metronome to hear better if we're in time. So we're slightly out of time. How are we going to fix that? Well, I'm going to highlight everything here, and then I'm going to extend it all out just a little. Now we can give it a listen and see where we are. So it sounds like this end part here is pretty close, but not quite there. Again, let's see if we can fix this up. I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to shrink it a little, and I'm going to bring it to be more in time. Again, shrink it a little. Then I'm going to highlight this here, say, okay, I imagine I want this to be starting right there. And then I'm going to drag out these two notes just a bit and make them a little better in time. Now, let's give it a listen. Sounds a lot better, but we're not quite there yet. Let's see what else we can do here. I want that to be a little closer. That's better. Now we're going to move this in, and you know what? Let's extend this. Now give it a listen. Sounds a lot better, but we're almost there. That's coming in too soon. Perfect. So before we're fully satisfied with this melody, let's make sure that quantizing it doesn't make it sound a lot better. We're going to go to quantize and give it a listen. Sounds pretty good, I gotta say. So I think I'm gonna leave it as it is and accept it. Now that we've got this melody pattern down, we're gonna leave the piano roll. Again, leave the channel rack, leave everything. And now we're going to head right on over to our playlist. With the playlist open, here's our pattern. We're going to rename and recolor it. So this is our melody, or rather, sorry, this is actually our bass line. Then we're going to color it red. Perfect. We know from our channel rack that this should be sending to an insert. Insert 5. Let's rename and recolor this as well. Baseline with that same red that we just had. Perfect, staying organized. Now we're going to drag this pattern into track 5, again, just to keep everything consistent. We're going to auto name. Perfect. Now let's finally pull up the mixer, and we're going to color this. So, baseline with the red. Perfect. Took us a few seconds, and it really helps us stay organized. Now, making sure they're on the paint tool by hitting B, let's put in baselines going down our playlist for a little while so that we can listen to them on repeat inside of the song. The next thing that we're going to need are drums. So let's click out of this, and we're going to head over to Packs and then scroll into Drums Mode Audio, go down to Kicks, and let's listen to a few of these until we find one that we're satisfied with. I'm going to use my arrow keys. I like that. So let's pull up our channel rack and replace the old kick with this. So just to save us some time, I decided to go in and find the rest of the samples on my own, but I've got them displayed here so that you can find them and put them in yourself. So pause the video and give them a look. They're all found within Drums Mode Audio, and then just look up these names and you'll be able to add them in. I put mine in excerpts 1, 2, 3, and 4, kick, hat, downstream, open hat, and clap in that order. Now, let's make sure that we go into a new pattern. We're going to rename this drums. We're going to color it purple. Perfect. And now let's get some of that pattern data inside. So let's head on over to the attack kick. We're going to go to the piano roll. Get rid of this mixer once again. And I think that I'm going to want to start on an F note because that is what our song is in the key of. So we got that F note there. And I'm going to put one at the beginning of each bar. Give a listen to how that sounds. Oh, well, let's get rid of that. That doesn't sound very good. To make this a little easier, we're going to take this pattern and we're going to put it in our first track, and then we're going to paint it all the way down. Move it in time. And now we're going to listen to the song while we actually work in the piano roll of the pattern that we're making. I'm not really feeling it. I wanted something a little bit faster. I like the sound of that a lot, so we'll stick with that. Now let's get back into our channel rack and see what else we can do. Let's go into the piano roll of the attack hat and line up something that we think is going to sound better than it otherwise would. So, you know what? We're going to do something a little bit different on this just to see what we can do. We're going to have this fill in every 2 steps, and then we're going to head to the piano roll. And now let's see how this sounds. Okay, so that's a lot, but you know what? We're going to delete some of them. Let's take out the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. Okay, so that's like the 3rd of this second half here. Let's take out the 3rd of this, so 8, 9, 10, 11. Not really. Let's see how that sounds. Okay, wait. I like the way that sounds. And then let's take out... let's take out those 2 and see how that sounds. I like that. So now we're going to take all of that note data that we just made, hold down the command, and then hold shift, and drag this in to start again. Listening back to that, I actually think that we can make this a little bit more complicated and a little more full. So what I think that we should do is we should select all of our notes in the pattern other than, let's get rid of that, other than the last 2, so done, done, here, and let's take their velocities and move them, move them down here. That should be a little bit better. And then we'll have these 2 stay loud. Let's hear what that sounds like. like that. That little bit of emphasis on the end is cool. So we're going to want to, again, select the ones that we just edited, delete these, select, and then use the duplicating tool by holding down Shift when they're selected to have them copy with their new velocity data over. So now that we've done that, let's go out to the downstream hat. And since we have our ghost channels on, I actually just think we're going to add them in to these little gaps here and see how that sounds, because they sounded a little empty. Ooh. Finally, let's get the clap in there. So I'm going to go into the claps piano roll, and honestly, I don't even know where I'm going to put this, so I'm just going to listen to it once and see where I think a clap should go. Okay, so I think here it could sound good. Okay, where else? Let's put one here. No, I don't like that. That's nice. Maybe another one here. But then it takes away the symbol. Alright, I like that. Minimal, but you know what? That's the point of this beat. We're supposed to be moving fast. So now what we're going to do is a little sneaky trick to give us a little more control over our drums. In the drum pattern, we're going to split this up by channel. And then, let's see what we can do here. There's our attack kick. There's our hat. Put that down here. Put that down here. Move this down to here. Perfect. Let's see if we can speed this up even more. Nope, they're all on top of each other, so we'll just have to wait. That goes here. Keep the attack hats all together. Attack hats. Let's get the downstream open hat. So it looks like that is not a full pattern, so we're going to want to be careful with where we put that. So now they're all in the right order. So let's just get back over to our pencil tool, delete that. Now let's group these tracks all together because they're in the drums, right? And let's rename color and icon. And just like that, we've split up all of our sounds, colored them appropriately, stayed organized. A great way to take care of this project so that when we get down the road, we know exactly what we're doing. Finally, we're going to get one more instance of the citrus in here. So we can come up here, go to our recent files, and then add in another citrus. And this time what we're going to want to do is go up to its presets, then we're going to come down to plucked, and we're going to choose silk polyarb. Now let's make sure we start one more new pattern, which we can rename here as melody, getting that right this time. And I'm actually going to color it gold. Perfect. Okay. And now that we're working with this melody, let's head on over to the piano roll of this instrument. Perfect. Get rid of the mixer. And let's listen again to the song. And we're going to come up with something that I think sounds nice. So again, we're recording, just notes and automation. And if you let me get my finger set here, I think I have something that might sound good. All right, here we go. All right, so let's give that one more listen to see how it actually sounds. We got to make sure that it's in the playlist itself. Perfect. Get off recording. I always forget that. Excellent. Now let's get over to the paint tool and paint this all the way over. And just like that, we are done with the actual writing of the song. Now we can mix it as well as arrange it so that it sounds better. So the mixing that you're about to see me do isn't really the best kind of mixing. It's going to be something that's really just suited for this 15-minute tutorial, but in truth, later on in this course, we're going to go over far better ways to mix. So real quick, let's just bring all these faders down to here. And then we're going to play our song and adjust from here. So, all right, Alright, already, immediately, we've got a melody that is off the charts. What's going on there? Well, we realize we forgot to send this to the right mixer track. Now let's give it a listen. Perfect. So I want to bring the kick up. Now I can hear the kick a little clearer. That's better. All right. Now, we got to be careful with this because it's really drowning it out. Bring that to there. Let's start this over. All right. Now I'm barely hearing this. Get the open hat. Now I feel like we're starting to hear more of the entire song. So just by adjusting our volume faders, we can really balance something out a lot better than how it was. So one last thing in our little mixing bit here, and again, this is not a comprehensive guide to mixing. This is just a really quick and dirty way to make something sound a little bit cleaner. Let's pan to give a little more space to our sound. Up a little more too. Alright, now that that is done, we can be satisfied enough for a 15-minute beat. That's not too bad, but now we're going to want to arrange our song so that we can actually hear it sound a little bit more like a song and not just a continuous loop. So I say let's take out the melody and let's take out the open hat and the clap for the first bit here. Then let's bring in the drums but keep the melody out of it, and then we'll bring it all together. So let's give that a listen. There you go. So while this beat isn't something that you're necessarily going to think is incredible, if you started this course just a few days ago, you went from not knowing how to use FL Studio to being able to make a beat that harmonizes, is in a good key, and has a complicated drum pattern that you somewhat mixed. That is a huge, huge amount of progress to have in just 11 lessons. So we're going to head out for now, but in our next lesson, we're going to jump right back into it with manipulation and chopping of samples. So we'll see you next time, and this is Mirium Music, signing off.